Good afternoon. Durgan Hartunian for the UFL at our headquarters in Second Life. I'm down at ground level at the Sports Zone bar where the main field used to be. We've upgraded a little bit since the holidays. This is our first episode back after the holidays, so we're catching up here a bit with guests from weeks 9, 10, and 11. And catching up is our theme today as well as we press on into week number 12 of Season 2. Already just coming up to the end of another great season of Second Life football. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Winner's Circle. If you're watching us live on Hitbox today and you have any questions, go ahead and put them in chat and we'll try to get them live for you. These are our guests. If I can lock my mic on there, that might help. For the former Buccaneers and one of the few O-line, D-line of all time to stand out and grab the mention, we've got Torolf Fenrirsson in classic form. Representing the Seahawks from superb performances in weeks 9 and 10, we have Skinnerd Skytower, and not the second or the third, but the first Elf, Top Hat. For the Raiders, win last week in week 11 with a fumble recovery touchdown, none other than Bob Kensington White. For the Warriors, we were going to have Gooch Prada here. I'm going to go ahead and mention him now. He's our first three-time winner for the season and the winner of the last 3 weeks in a row, Gooch Prada. He's unable to join us today, as are our other winners, Chris Piaggio of the Buccaneers, Bizarrely Positive Vibes of the Bulldogs, Veronica Vela and Staples Price of the Mustangs, Tupac from the Patriots, Jazzy Vaccaro from the Seahawks, and Ray Robert of the Titans. But we have other special guests today here as well. As some might recall, last Saturday's game, the Bulldogs against the Cowboys, Bulldogs with a 21-7 win. The commentators and fans put their heads together and honorarily chose as player of the game for the Bulldogs and the UFL community's most recent and tragic loss, Ryrie Shackleton. Jinx Pierce and Andrew Christensen of the team are sitting in today in her stead to participate in our discussion and to talk to us about a few things before we sign off today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Winner's Circle, and thank you all again for being here. As I mentioned, what we're going to touch on as today's theme is catching up. We have these weeks from time to time where we've had a long holiday, an off-season, or something going on in our lives that takes us out of the game, and when we come back, we don't exactly come back stronger. So the other half of this is kind of the other half of a great bit of advice we talked about over a month ago in the post-Week 5 show, which is actually to take breaks, just not for too long. Taking a short break can be massively beneficial, but what we're talking about here is coming off of a more extended break than that. And we're going to talk about what we have to do to knock the rust off, oil the gears, get the machine kickstarted again, both as an individual and as a team. So that's the first question I'm going to start with. I guess we'll start over here to the left. If we want to talk to Alf first. What are your personal strategies to kickstart yourself and find your own edge again? Oh, man down. Okay, so we'll take that over to Skinnerd instead, sitting on the bar in front of me here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you. One sec.
All right, cool.
What I usually do is I just do pickups, go in the ball thrower, anything that can really get you catching, like used to what you're usually doing in a game. Even scrimming would help. So just stuff like that.
Just basically jump right back into it again.
Yep.
Yeah, Bob, what about you? What do you think? What's worked for you? As you've actually had some pretty long breaks in the past. What have you done when you came back to get practiced up?
Well, easy. Practice, squim, and basically that's it. That's all we can think of. If we really did anything else, I really wish I'd known of. But that's what we really did. Practice and squim.
Okay, Alf, what do you think? Do you have anything specific that you do to kind of ease your way back in after a break? Or I don't think his mic's even on there yet.
Yeah, I don't know if he heard you quite yet.
Okay. Oh, we'll go to Torolf in the meantime anyway.
It probably depends on what position you play. If you're a receiver, at the bare minimum, you probably need to be doing pickups and keeping the rust off. But playing O-line, you either can or you can't play it. You really don't. don't get rusty at it, so to speak.
No.
But it's also something that it's not just you; it's your whole line. If you and your line and your quarterback work together really well, it works out. If you don't, it doesn't. You either have hand-eye coordination or you don't. So I've never really had that much problem with being rusty, but the team ethic was such that if the league took a break, we didn't. We kept scrimming, so that
I
probably
see.
helped too.
So you got to stay in the game at all times anyway.
Yeah, so I never really experienced a time where I had a lot of downtime that could have possibly caused me to get rusty, but in the break that I did take and come back, I mean, the line is just not as it's not as difficult to keep up with as it is being a receiver.
Creating that touch with the other lineman and the QB. Well, that's
Right,
good
it's
to
a
hear.
different skill set.
All right, let's see if we got Top Hat Alpha here with me now. Can you hear me, bud?
Yeah.
All right, cool. What from your perspective, what do you think helps coming back after a long break and kind of sharpening up again?
And just pickups and scrims.
Just straight up jumping into the game itself.
Yeah.
Very much a trial by fire crew over there, and there's definitely something to be said for that. Andrew, what comes to mind for you?
Pretty much the same thing that they say, scrims, inter-team scrims, practicing on the ball thrower. It's pretty much all I usually do. Especially me being a safety as well. I try to do some defense drills in and, make sure I'm covering as good as I can.
Okay. And Jinx, you're both on the same team. You probably have about the same strategy. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to echo Andrew there. We kept scrimming as well, even on the break, and we use the ball thrower a lot, and I like to go back and watch games to see where I may have made mistakes, and also to study the teams that we're going to be playing. I do that a lot too. So
That's a good point as well. Keep the overall strategy down as well as training the tactics. So if we approach this from the other side, which is kind of helping the team as a whole do that, obviously it's everybody's individual job to kind of take responsibility for themselves, keep themselves motivated and trained. But what about the team as a whole? How do you foster that kind of environment where everyone wants to and actively will take responsibility for that? Let's start with the Seahawks crew up here. Scanner.
Our team as a whole, you said?
Is it what?
What was the question you asked?
Oh, I said, basically, what are your team strategies to get the team as a whole in gear and get everybody kind of, kicking it into high gear again and finding their own edge or finding the edge as a team? Is there anything specific to your team that, your environment that fosters that kind of motivation?
Honestly, we just try scheduling scrims as much as possible. Just trying to get as much practice in as possible before a big game. That's really it.
Just high
As a
tempo?
team, especially.
Yeah. And you typically don't have any problem with people showing up to that, just,
Not usually. People usually let us know beforehand if they can't make it.
Okay. But first off, I'm guessing that's pretty much going to be, it's talking about your team as a whole, so do you have anything to add to
Yeah,
that?
that's pretty much the thing.
All right, Bob, what about you? What do the Raiders do?
Real cold. And, try to figure out how are we going to win the games. That is basically our main goal. And another thing is to have fun out there. Okay, some teams don't want to have fun, but the Raiders really do like having fun out there, and that's what I'm glad about. This is
Oh,
why
definitely.
I'm on the Raiders. That's why.
Good. So they kind of start from, all right, looking at it like, we've got this game coming up, we know we need to do these specific things for the game, and that kind of motivates everybody to get going?
Yes.
All right, cool. Torolf, what did the Buccaneers do? Obviously, unfortunately, the team's not with us anymore, but they were definitely a solid example as well. How did that environment work?
With the exception of the linemen, there was a pretty deep talent pool on the roster. There were way more players than they could actually field. So a lot of them basically had to compete with each other in order to keep their starter status. There was no, Joe Blow is always going to play wide receiver, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera. Your spot was dependent on you showing up, busting your ass, and most importantly, performing well. And if you started slipping up on any of that, you would get rotated out more, and somebody else would come in and pull the slack. So at least on the important games. So that I'm sure that put a lot of pressure on those guys to be at every game and try as hard as they could. The linemen kind of got to slack off because nobody wants to play line, and the other two guys, Chris and Jack, just kind of got put there because they could do it better than the other guys. But that was relatively speaking.
Right.
But their positions were never at risk. I mean, nobody was going to come up and take linemen from them, so they didn't have to work as hard. That's not to say that they didn't, but the environment was definitely much more high pressure on the secondary and the receiver corps.
Is that something that if someone were running a team or forming a team that you would offer as advice for how to staff those positions, just to make sure that inner competition remains like that?
In this league, unfortunately, you kind of have to do it that way because good linemen are very few and far between,
Yes.
and they're typically spread out between all the teams. Any given team might have one really good lineman, maybe two, almost never three. The Seahawks might be the only team I know of that's got three really good, solid linemen. Everybody else is either in the shit can or has only got one or two people. So when it comes to linemen, if you're building a new team, you've got to focus on getting the best that you can get and get them signed. Once that's done, then you've got to look at the reality of the league is everybody wants to play receiver. Everybody wants to play secondary. And if you're going to be confronted with that reality, the only way to manage it is to make them compete with each other, make them earn those spots. So it's not the ideal way to handle it, but with the situation being what it is, I think that's the only good way to do it. It certainly worked for the Bucks. So
Good. It's good to hear. From the Bulldogs standpoint here, I'll start with Andrew again. What was the team's approach typically to coming back from these breaks?
Pretty much, as an individual, you can't really see the mistakes that you make, so as the Bulldogs, we kind of look at each other and watch each other and see what we can improve on and kind of give each other tips on how, we can fix something. So if I'm doing something wrong, I advise, my teammates would tell me, like, Andrew, you're not covering as close as you should, or you're not doing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's, as a team, how we kind of help each other out and tell each other what we see that's going on.
So keep a lot of crosstalk going.
Right.
Yeah, Jinx, you agree with that? Anything to add?
Yeah, I agree. I think it also helps a lot that we're so close as a team. Like, we're friends off the field.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes it easier for us to critique each other because I don't think we take it as personally. So that helps a lot. And also, there's a couple of us on the team that look back over the films and, study what the other teams have done. And I think that helps us out a lot. So that's how we really prepare. So.
Good. That's certainly a good starting point there. That crosstalk is very important, and I know exactly what you mean about people taking things personally or taking criticism the wrong way. That's another thing that teams in this league have to be very careful when they're approaching, because that is a personality you tend to run into here. But I'd like to go ahead and close up that part of the discussion there. That's more or less our theme for the day. I'd like to go over to Jinx and Andrew here again. Thanks again for you two coming here today, representing the memory of Ryrie. Do you have anything you'd like to say to the community?
I don't know if you guys heard, but, as you're aware, Ryrie passed away on the 28th. But then 3 days later, they found out that her real-life father had a tumor on his abdomen that was cancerous, and it was inoperable. And he passed away, unfortunately, Tuesday of this week. So we decided as a team and as a family, as the Pierce family, to get together and hold a fundraiser for her. And so we're doing a fundraiser of a gotcha yard sale, and 100% of the donations are going to Ryrie's family.
Excellent.
We're also going to be doing an auction. We've got some designers, and it's still pouring in. We don't have everything. But we have some designers that are donating stuff that we're going to auction. Some of them are. Blueberry donated a very substantial gift card to be donated. We have a couple photographers. Rick Applewhite, who's my brother, he's going to do a picture. Gina Carminucci, she used to be part of the football community. She's going to do a picture. Vinyl has donated stuff. We just have a whole bunch, and so we're going to be doing that the whole week to help their family out with financial issues that they're having. So.
That's great. Thanks very much for putting that together, and thanks once again
Oh, and
to the
if you-
community. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. If anybody has any questions or if they want to donate anything, they can contact me. I'm Aislinn Jinx in World, or they can contact Kaden Pierce, and we're both on Facebook. So if they have any questions or they want to donate anything, so
Great.
that's it. Sorry.
Not at all. Thanks a lot for putting that together, and thanks for myself to the community for how they've all come out and handled this very difficult situation. We've really seen a lot of people come together in a way I haven't seen in this community before. It's humbling and it's impressive. So thank you all for that, and thank you to all of our guests for coming out today. That's going to conclude the show for this week. Congratulations on your selections, and good luck this coming weekend. For Winter Circle, I'm Durgan Hartunian. We're out of here.